From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, real therapists. If you have a question to ask or advice you'd like to give, come on over to podtherapy.net and join the conversation. Today was supposed to be my breakthrough, my podcast by myself, but Jim decided to show up at the last minute.
Hi, everybody.
Sorry, folks. This will have to wait.
Still here.
And now, broadcasting from Level 9 Studios, that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some pod therapy.
So I'm sorry that I ruined your Justin Timberlake break out of the boy band, go solo, but I'm here, Nick. I made it.
Yeah.
I don't know for how long.
I know. So for the listener, this was supposed to be, well, it wasn't supposed to be. It was kind of working out to be Nick's podcast, Nick's day, by himself.
Yep.
No Jim.
Yep. He was going to bring Sexy back. It was going
to be great. Because we've got some stuff going on, and
we are real life therapists,
right?
And there were real life healthcare emergencies, and Jim was going to be the responsible therapist and go deal with that, and Nick was going to be the podcasting therapist. But the situation seems to have resolved.
Well, our listeners need us.
That's right.
I was doing the podcast because I felt that was what I was called to do.
Yes, by God,
for all of you,
called
all
by your higher power to do.
Right, for all of you listeners, all 5 of you. We know that you count on this podcast every week, and if we didn't do it, it would have been terrible.
That's right. What else would you fall asleep to?
Right.
You might have to go get something over the counter, and that's just not safe.
And it could have been amazing. I'm just going to say, I'm obviously I'm happy you're here, Jim.
Are you?
Very happy. Yes, I'm very happy that you're here. But this could have been something interesting. We would have known a lot. We would have learned a lot
about Nick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I want you to imagine. I'm going to talk to you, the listener.
Why is your mascara running?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I want to talk to the listener here for a moment. I want you to imagine.
Yeah.
That you've got tickets to see Simon and Garfunkel. And you show up.
Are they alive?
And then you realize that one of them is sick.
Yeah, Garfunkel.
And only one of them is going to be there.
Yeah.
Your night could be just as good as if both of them showed up.
I don't think that's true.
Or it could be very bad.
Yes.
Depending on which one of them shows up.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
Today, we would have learned if I was Paul or Art.
And those are the first names of Simon and Garfunkel?
Oh, Jesus. Yes.
Nobody knows that. This is not like When Doves Cry.
No.
Nobody knows that.
Everybody knows
When you said
that.
Paul, I thought you meant McCartney. You know?
Okay. Well, anyway, my point is...
That would have been relevant.
No, my point is obviously, I know I'm upsetting some Art Garfunkel fans out there, some of our listeners that are big Art Garfunkel fans. And I'm not saying that he's not a good musician. Obviously, he's great.
Kind of sounds like that's what you said.
The Sound of Silence, that wouldn't have been the same without Art Garfunkel. And The Boxer wouldn't have sounded the same.
Okay.
But all I'm saying
is that
one of them had a pretty good solo career.
Okay.
And the other one... You don't hear many people today saying, I'm going to a Garfunkel concert.
Yeah. I don't.
Paul Simon.
Paul Simon is a thing. I'm going to take your word for it.
Oh, my God.
At the end of the day, Nick, everybody's relieved that I'm here to save this podcast and wrest it from the chaos that was about to ensue. However, disclaimer, at any given moment, my phone may ring and I may have to bust up out of here and go save the day, leaving Nick to fulfill his fantasy of this Simon Garfunkel erotica fiction that he's got going on.
I was really looking forward to an entire episode where I could, finish a full sentence.
Yeah, that'd been really cool.
And tell a joke without the punchline getting stomped on before I got to it.
I think you would have pulled up a picture of me on your phone and just put it across from you and just sat there just so you could have me in the room. I think that's what you would have done.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I had actually planned this entire podcast for Jim not being here.
Well,
to be honest.
Which is not that much different.
Right.
The actual podcast.
Well, no, it was going to be a lot different because here's something that the listener doesn't know is that I have no editing power over this podcast.
This is true.
I help provide the content, but then once we're done and Scotty's done with his part, and he sends it to Jim, and Jim takes it home, and he gets to cut it and
this is how the sausage
slice
is made.
it up and everything. And then he controls the final product.
I do.
So even if I was here by myself and I was planning on just ripping into Jim since he wasn't here to defend
edited
himself.
the whole thing.
But I had a plan for that. I had a plan in place for that. No. What I was going to do is I was just going to make it really hard to edit.
Oh, okay.
So I have here a list of Dr. Jim fun facts that I was going to throw in randomly throughout the podcast to make it almost impossible to edit.
God. You know what? Do this anyway.
Do it anyway. I was going to do it anyway.
I cannot see the script, and I'm fascinated by this whole devious plan that you had. And also proud of you, Nick. Good job that you would not waste an opportunity to prank me. Because I have certainly not wasted those opportunities when they've come to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to do that anyway. I will randomly throw in some Jim fun facts for our listeners.
Okay, all right. And I will not dispute their truth or falsity. I'll just let it happen.
Okay, awesome. Well, I guess let's get started. Let's do our podcast.
Yeah, let's do our podcast. And speaking of falsity and truths, Nick. Is there anything you feel like maybe the listener needs to know? Is there anything burning in your soul? Maybe you need to confess? Do you feel like that's necessary?
Okay, we're going to have this conversation.
Let's have this conversation. This is a very honest podcast. I'm not going to let you sully this podcast.
Okay.
Keep it honest.
All right, here it is. I confess. We had the ringtone revenge.
Yeah.
I was assigned Barbie Girl by Aqua.
By Professor Roberta Miranda. A good soul, Nick.
And I changed it.
I know.
We have video of it.
I have video of it. Which is actually on the website, by the way.
It is.
podtherapy.net.
So if you want to see that, he recorded that at work, had somebody call me, and stood in the doorway, and waited for my reaction.
And giggled like a schoolgirl. It was so lovely.
And I did that for a good 4 days.
Yep.
And then I changed it back to Prince. I did not go the full week.
You did not.
As I was supposed to.
That's right. That's right, Nick. You did not. So let the record show, okay? You owe 3 days to ringtone revenge. So the next time that you get punished, you have a debt of 3 days that you owe the universe. And that gasping sound you heard was the listeners, Nick. You've lost credibility, okay? Now they're like, can we believe anything this guy says? No, you can't. Don't believe Nick.
So I want you to imagine for a second that you are, let's say, at the grocery store.
Right.
You're checking out all your groceries.
Yeah.
And you realize that they made a mistake. They rung you up twice for something, for one item.
That happens.
So you do the right thing and you say, hey, you made a mistake. And then the cashier says, no, I didn't. And you say, well, no, you did. You made this mistake here.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. And then you say, no, look in the bag. And they say, no, you must have taken it out. And now you get furious and you're upset. And you're like, no, you are double charging me you're charging me for something I didn't buy.
Okay.
You are overcharging me. Get the manager. I need to speak to the manager.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't think you need to speak to the manager. It's not a problem.
Okay.
You're being a jerk.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, get the manager. I want to speak to the manager. So the manager comes out. And this conversation gets heated and it gets
this story
frustrating.
better have a payoff because I am lost.
And then you get stressed and you're trying to argue your point. And then your phone rings and it's Barbie Girl by Aqua. You've lost.
You've lost the fight.
Yeah, you've lost dignity.
Okay.
You've lost the fight.
Okay.
You just got to put the phone away and walk away.
Okay. And I feel that those are the known consequences of losing ringtone revenge. It is not a pain-free punishment, Nick. Next time, stump me with your diagnosis. Next time, don't pick histrionic personality disorder, and maybe you'll have a chance. But to all the heartbroken listeners out there, I just want you to know I'm here for you, okay? As a therapist, I'm here if you need to grieve. I'm here if you need to just express your outrage and your shock. And we're going to get through this together. And Nick's going to endeavor to restore credibility to you and to me, because I'm the victim here.
Right.
As is sweet Lady Justice, Nick.
Mm-hmm. Jim, fun fact. Jim works out with shake weights.
That's what I tell you that thumping sound is in my office.
I'm already regretting this. Okay.
Well, I'm excitedly waiting for more of your fun facts while people are excitedly waiting for our advice, I imagine.
All right, well, let's get into our advice segment. Okay, so we've got somebody writing in. Is this girl interested in me, or is she toying with me? So I like this girl in my college, and she seems to like me, but her actions are seemingly arbitrary and spontaneous. We see each other quite a bit, share classes, and are in the same student clubs. We have great conversations, generally enjoy one another's company, so I've tried to up my game and let her know that I think we should date, but seemingly, in response to my advances, she'll talk less openly and less frequently with me. So this leads me to assume she doesn't want a relationship, right? Fine, I get it, no harm, no foul. When I feel she doesn't want a relationship, I interact with her more as a friend and I stop flirting. But then she starts flirting with me so much more. In fact, take a look at the list below. She touches me in various ways, calls me attractive several times, invited me to her place, and we watched a movie and almost had sex a while back. If I am vastly misinterpreting things, I'd like to know so I don't miss out on a great opportunity, because we get along really well and have lots of similarities and are attracted to one another. But it could be that she is a tad insecure and attention-seeking and toying with me to relieve that. What do you think? Jim, what are your thoughts?
This is hard to hear because there's a part of me that's like, so there's this classic, stereotype, and I know we don't deal in stereotypes, but there's some truth to this, that women can sometimes be indecisive and they're not sure, how they feel about you. That could be happening. But honestly, my first impression, I think that she doesn't want to date you, but she really likes the attention. And so you're her friend, and the fact that you like her, you shower her with attention, that you used to have a flirty tension, that she likes that. And then whenever you burst the bubble and you come right out and ask, and she kind of declines and demurs, and now she's pulling away, then you freeze up, right? So you go cold, and now she misses that. And now she wants that affection, and she's like, oh, ha ha ha, you're so cute, or whatever. And now you're sitting there with your head spinning like, I don't know what to do. So personally, the guy asks, is she interested or is she toying with me? I think she's toying with you, and I don't think that's malevolent. I think that she gets to be a human and, enjoy being flirted with and doted upon, but honestly, that's what I think it is. So I don't recommend, trying any harder than you already are.
Yeah, that could be.
What do you think, Nick?
Jim likes to take his pictures with Snapchat filters only. But in regard to this,
now I understand what you mean about how you were going to make it hard to edit. Yes, because you were going to pepper these little facts in.
Oh, I've got a lot of them too. Yeah, I mean, does she like you or is she toying with you? Maybe both. I think one of the difficult things is it's sometimes hard to discern between whether or not she likes me or if we're just friends, but she has really poor boundaries.
Yeah.
So there's obviously a lot of things that reading this that would tell me, how do you know when a girl likes you? There's a few things that you can.
Good luck. Well, fire a mood ring.
There's a few things that you can kind of look for. Number one, any kind of physical contact. Personal space is very important. That's our protection zone. You can tell when someone likes you when they start to kind of open up that personal zone, and they start getting a little bit close. And if they make any kind of attempt to touch you, or any kind of excuse to touch you or get close, that is
if they attempt CPR, that's a classic sign.
Right. Yeah. Oh, she's totally into
you. Yeah. Breathe, damn it. I know what you're trying to say, baby.
Yeah. The way you collapsed on the floor really got her excited.
When I was turning all blue.
Yeah. Also, other things that you can look for micro grooming, like any type. Okay,
that is not a thing.
This is a thing. Yes, any type of small adjustments or grooming that they do. Right,
you just
and it goes the same way.
100% of the women in the planet.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
All right, women, write in.
To Nick.
We have two guys here debating what women do.
Don, why aren't you on the show?
Women, write in. But this is the thing. I swear by this.
Okay.
If you're talking to a woman and she starts kind of playing with her hair or doing any kind of micro grooming.
Okay.
Movements
small
like
adjustments.
that, small things like that.
Okay.
That's an indicator that she's interested.
Huh.
It also goes the same way, I think, for guys.
Really?
So if you are interested in a woman and you are talking to her, any kind of small adjustment that you make towards your appearance because you want to make you're now very conscious of how you look. So you start doing these micro adjustments to make sure that you look good.
The only micro adjustment that I think I've ever done in my life is suck in my belly. That's the only one. I don't flick my hair. I just
okay, but your hair is not flickable. Come on.
Oh, come on. I have flickable hair, Nick.
It's a helmet.
Well, yes, it must be because it's so thick.
Right.
These are so you're saying if she's okay, but hold on. The writer, what's not in dispute is that she is sending signals. They almost had sex. Like,
it's a pretty good signal.
But, also this. Like, this is an example of somebody that's actually trying to send signals. And he's like, I don't dispute the signals. I dispute the message. What are you trying?
Or the motive behind it.
The motive, yeah.
Well, and I think, that's a good question. I mean, it could be that maybe she does like you, but she's just not. She's got some insecurities. She's not really ready for
you.
Yeah, she's not in like.
I like you, but I'm not in like with you.
Yeah, that's
a thing.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah,
but like she's got some insecurities and she's not ready for a relationship, which kind of makes sense in the sense that like when I pursue her, she backs off.
Yeah.
When I back off, she seems more interested and pursues me.
Yeah.
Almost kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, I really like this guy. But then as the relationship builds, it's like,
point.
Ooh, now I'm kind of getting scared. He's kind of getting drawn in.
That's okay. So I want to take the position that she's toying with him. But if I were to give her the benefit of the doubt and say, no, she's authentically not manipulating, she's just adjusting to what she senses, I think Nick's onto something here. Because that is generally true. For women, one of the ways that they evaluate, and this is going to sound so psychology babble, but whatever, I'm going to have fun with it. So one of the ways that females evaluate the mating potential and value of a male is by their social value. So if you're a guy who seems desperate and you're way too eager for them, they assess that their value is probably higher than yours and they're not going to necessarily be as attracted. However, if you seem, for whatever reason, like you have a higher value, which could include other people liking you, it could include material things that kind of signal value. It could also include disinterest, because if you're disinterested and you're not necessarily looking for them, now they sense, wait a minute, like there's a value here. And that can actually make you more attractive. Now, women don't like that I'm saying this because they're like, no, don't just ignore us to get our attention. Okay, but it works. It works. It's not my fault that it works.
Exactly.
So ignore her, dude. That's the answer to either one of these, right, Nick? Like if she's playing you, pull back. If she's not playing you, pull back. Why? Because it's working, dummy. You do like her. So if you do like her and now you're pulling away and she's heading towards you, don't complain. This is great. Keep up the strategy you're doing until she crosses a line that there is no longer denying that she is signaling interest. She will come out and say it, or she'll give up. But either way, you win.
Right. Jim still listens to Nickelback.
Oh, Lord.
Now, one other thing that I want to
add.
Las
Las Vegas, by the way.
Right. One other thing that I want to add to this. Stay on focus, Jim. Stay on point. So one thing that I want to add, though, too, is that even if she's not toying with you, even if she really likes you, either way, be careful.
Yeah.
Because either way it goes, it seems to me like there could be some risk involved in this because she does like you, but she's not very secure in a relationship. That could be risky.
Yeah.
Or she doesn't really like you and some signs are being misread.
Maybe.
Or she has very poor boundaries. She sees you as a friend, but has very poor boundaries.
Maybe.
In either of those situations, just be careful.
Okay, yes. So, yes, be careful. Disclaimer. Gosh, that's such a medical professional thing you just did. Disclaimer alert. Fine.
Well, I don't want to get sued.
I don't want to get sued either. But I would say keep doing what you're doing. It's working. Just continue to be cold. Don't be mean. Don't cross that threshold. But continue to be colder. Kind of ignore. And you know what? If you really want to test Jim's theory, here's how you can test it. Do what's called a neg. Nick, are you familiar with the negging?
God,
yep.
Yeah.
Do a neg. And so a neg is this. be slightly playfully insulting. Don't be mean. Don't actually say something harmful, but slightly playfully insulting. That's sort of passive aggressive. And then just kind of let that lie and see what she does. And if she starts coming nearer to you, drawing nearer to you, trying to get your attention, looking for affirmation from you, she likes you. And she's trying. And I'm sad that this is the reality, Nick. I don't own the responsibility of the dysfunctionalness of men and women. But the reality is this: when little boys like little girls, they pull their hair and they neg them a little bit. And for some reason, a lot of little girls are kind of responsive to that. And they kind of like, oh, this guy, he doesn't like me. He's kind of mean to me. I'll win him over or something to that effect. And if they actually care about his affirmation, they seek it. And so round and round the world goes. I'm sorry, but this is the way humans are. I don't know why we're designed this way, but try that out and see if it works.
Okay.
And address your hate mail to Nick.
Nope, I had nothing to do with that.
podtherapy.net.
Yeah, send it to that. Because
that's not our email.
That's not even your email. Go ahead.
All right, Nick, can I read the next one?
Please do.
All right. This one is titled, I'm in love with my friend and can't stand it.
Seems
Nick,
to be the theme.
Are you writing into the show? You didn't have to do this.
Time for a Jim fun fact. Jim still uses Internet Explorer.
If that were true, you'd know that it's now called Edge. It's not even Explorer anymore. Okay, Microsoft Edge. And no.
You said you weren't going to refute any of these.
Oh, that's right. Well, then I use Microsoft Edge. Okay, so this question, which Nick wants you to know he didn't write, is I'm in love with my friend and can't stand it. Okay, let's read it. I want to tell her. Oh, guess it's not me. I want to tell her, but I'm afraid it'll ruin our friendship and make her hate me. But I seriously can't stand it anymore. She knows I think she's gorgeous, but she doesn't know to what extent. Our friendship was based upon friendship, without this intention. But now I can barely stand it. Last night we were on the phone for 8 hours with her bawling her eyes out because her boyfriend is a piece of crap. And I thought it was my time to tell her, but her boyfriend decided to leave the house party he was at and text her. So she just hung up and started talking to him, and now everything's normal for her. But for me, this crap is piling up. I hate myself. That's a tough one.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't hate yourself.
Don't hate yourself.
Yeah. Don't hate yourself. This is something that everybody seems to go through. You don't have to hate it all.
No, you got to go somewhere, Nick.
But this is something that everybody goes through. So don't feel like this is about you. It's not. This is something that it's very frustrating when dating. The whole dating game really is kind of frustrating because, I mean...
He's not dating, Nick.
Oh,
They're
right.
friends.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But, you get the idea. You get what I'm saying. I guess the thing is that you have to remember that you are worth more than self-inflicted torture. And if you are friends with her, I would say, number one, it seems pretty obvious to me that she doesn't view you the same way.
Yeah.
She's not going to be calling and bawling to you about stress in her current relationship if she's into you.
Yeah.
She's definitely seeing you as a friend.
Yep.
And if this becomes too difficult, you have to at some point figure out where your boundaries are.
Yes.
And what you are going to do for yourself and for your own mental health.
Yep.
Because let's play this out. What happens if you stay in that?
Yeah.
If you do not work through this and this continues on, then you essentially have a front row seat to her dating life.
Right.
And dating other men.
And it bothers you.
Yeah, that would be torture to see somebody that you really like and care about dating other guys.
Yeah.
And you get to see the rise and the fall.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
No, listen, I get it. Nick went out with another therapist last night and got a beer. And, I wasn't going to bring it up, but, I was available.
This is just the episode for airing grievances, isn't it?
We need to bring in another therapist to do couples counseling so we can get all this crap out. Okay, so I'm going to take a slightly different approach, Nick. Here's the deal. There's a lot of guys who could relate to what this writer wrote in some form or fashion. It's specific, but they can relate to this idea of, I'm really good friends with this girl. I really care about her. I tell her how gorgeous she is. I really like her. She comes to me whenever she's talking about her boyfriend and stuff, and I am chomping at the bit to like take my shot, right? To take my shot and to tell her. So I have a few notes on this.
Okay.
First note. It is never the right time to, quote, take your shot when she's grieving the loss of her boyfriend or she's like in the middle of drama.
Yeah.
That's a homewrecker. That's not, there's nothing good. That's bad timing. You're kind of a jerk if you pull that off. Don't do it. And it's also trying to take advantage of her vulnerability.
Yep.
Don't do that. You're better than that, okay? And you might be thinking, this is my chance. I'm kind of put off by that language. If I can be honest with you, I don't love it. You know, I don't want to see you taking a shot, taking a chance when she's the most vulnerable, the most insecure, and she's bawling her eyes out for 8 hours. If you feel like you care about her and you want to improve her and say, hey, you know what, you're awesome. Don't let this guy treat you bad. You're valuable. Okay, that's a good friend thing to do, and that's a good pre-boyfriend thing to do. Fine. But to think this is my opportunity to say, and I love you, I want to be with you, break up with him, run away with me. No, that's selfish. That's selfish.
You're adding to the problems.
Yes. Yeah, and my second gripe is this. There is this thing that has happened in the world, and it's becoming much more visible because of social media. But there's this now hashtag nice guy. And nice guys in this language are these guys that say, I'm the nice guy, I always finish last, you know, I'm the friend, and why won't she notice me? You know, she dates all these bad boys and guys that are mean to her and don't love her, but here I am and I deserve it and I deserve to be noticed. And it frustrates women to no end. Because a lot of women have this nice guy friend who's like on deck to be the next boyfriend. And they're like, I thought we were friends. Why can't we have a self-evident, self-contained friendship? Why does this have to be an audition for something else? And why do I owe you any kind of romantic capital in my life merely because you are nice to me? Because you are a good human. Why does everything have to amount to, and therefore I owe you a chance, and therefore we're supposed to be romantic? So I'm not seeing that guy has quite crossed that threshold. But because I kind of hear some of those sounds in this paragraph, listen, I'm going to come right out and say it. This nice guy thing is a bad way of thinking. It's a toxic and poisonous and selfish way of thinking. Women do not owe you any kind of romantic capital merely because you are a nice person. If it's founded on friendship and it becomes something more, fine. But that frustration I hear in this guy's voice where it's like, this was my chance, you know, almost like, can you believe her? She went back to that jerk, you know, and left me behind. And it's like, whoa, buddy, I don't want to hear that kind of thinking. You know, if you're truly her friend, then you should encourage her to be happy. If you think that boyfriend's bad because he's bad and that's it, that's one perspective. But if you think I deserve you, he doesn't, you owe me some kind of attention that you give to him, no, your mentality is in the wrong place. Get out of that nice guyism. I don't think it's helpful.
Yeah, I would agree.
End rant.
Yeah. And Jim buys his khakis from Lululemon.
They don't even sell khakis.
So what would your advice be then, Jim? Like, do you think he should just completely like ignore this, go back to just being friends? Do you think he...
I don't know. I mean, I'm also pro honesty.
Yeah.
So if you recognize that this is a problem, you recognize I have feelings and... you know, I feel that I'm being dishonest by not telling you, fine. But you also own the risk and you also own the consequences that she may no longer feel comfortable talking to you. And once you reveal that there's no going back. So that's okay. I want you to be you. And if this is how you feel, say it. But first, you better get rid of that entitled mentality. She doesn't owe you anything, and so she has never signaled anything. She has never led you on. You're the one who wants this to be something more than it is. Approach it humbly. And if she says no, or this is not the right time in her life, or if she's in a relationship and you're trying to mess with that, don't be surprised if this whole thing crumbles and she's not interested. So my advice is tell the truth if you feel like it's time to tell the truth. And if you can't tell the truth right now because it's not the right time, then you need to just kind of suck it up and be a friend. But be one thing. Don't try to be two things.
Right.
Don't be a friend and a pre-boyfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Very good advice.
Thank you. I am a therapist.
When you choose to be.
Yeah. All right, Nick. So this next one is not about you and being secretly in love with me. This one is titled Landed My Dream Job and my husband stopped working. I'm a 30-year-old woman, no kids. My husband and I have been married for 8 years, and we've always shared finances. About 4 months ago, I came into a job where I make six-figure income, and my husband, who hated his job, quit it to figure out what else he wanted to do. Problem is, 4 months have gone by, and he has yet to figure anything out, or even attempt to figure anything out. Although I'm aware that I've won the lottery with a great income working from home, I try to be really understanding of his feelings and not push him. But I really am unhappy with our dynamic. I don't care how much he makes or what he does, but I'm a very active person. I volunteer and I work a part-time gig on top of my job. It bothers me that he does so little. On top of that, I pay a lot of attention to the national and state economies, and I worry that my income really isn't enough by itself long-term for us both to have retirement. We live in a high-tax place, and this is not sustainable. Should I give him an ultimatum? I've suggested marriage counseling, but honestly, I don't want to give up the time and money it would cost me when it seems to me that in the end, the one who needs to change is him. Naturally, he's not a big fan of doing anything differently, so he's not amenable to counseling. But I feel the situation is not getting any better, and I'm out of ideas. Please help.
Well, I think some boundaries definitely need to be set, and some expectations.
Expectations.
This, to me, that's kind of where all this goes to, is that it's expectations that we have that oftentimes we never express. I run into this a lot with some folks that I work with, that they have an expectation, and it's just something that they've never questioned. It's just a picture in their mind that this is what life is supposed to look like. And then when life doesn't look that way, then there's frustration. And sometimes there's difficulty verbalizing what's going on.
Right.
Because we don't think of it as an expectation. We just think this is the way life is.
Yeah.
So the problem then becomes when we don't communicate expectations.
Okay.
So like with her, like, what was the plan when he originally quit his job? Was there a talk about that?
Yeah.
Was there any kind of expectation set that, like, okay, I'm going to quit my job, since you can support us, what do you think about this?
Right.
Is this a mutual decision?
Right.
What is my plan? When do I hope to get back onto my feet? Things like that.
Sure. That's a good point.
I don't know if that conversation took place, and if it didn't, I think it definitely should now.
Yeah. Well, 4 months. 4 months is a long time, and I get that the economy can be a weird thing, but, I don't know. There's a lot of levels to this. On one hand, there's this stereotype out there that men can feel insecure if their female partner out-earns them. And I get that. There's been a lot of times in my life, I've been married for a long time, and my wife was able to get 2 feet into her career kind of before I could get both feet into mine. And so there were several years there where she was out-earning me. But she also saw that I was moving my feet. Like, I was trying my best, and I was working 2 jobs. And so even though at the end of the day the numbers were different, she saw that the effort was there, and she interpreted my effort as affection for her and for our family and for what we were trying to do. And she would constantly tell me that, hey, I love you, you're a hard worker, and I really appreciate that. And so one of the things I think is interesting in this marriage dynamic, Nick, is I don't hear the writer saying, this is just economics, this is just arithmetic, and I make X, and I really need him to contribute Y so we can purchase Z. I see her saying, there is this weird, foggy emotion that's happening, and it comes from the meaning that I give this, that he is not working and not trying, and I am active. I have a part-time job. I have my regular job. I volunteer. I pay attention to the news. What are you doing? And that becomes unattractive to her. For her, she's frustrated because of his stagnancy. And I think that is what's bothering her more than anything. And I feel like she has a right to that. And I feel, she's asking, should I lay out an ultimatum? I'm scared of ultimatums.
Right.
Nick has a golden rule about boundaries that you're not willing to enforce.
Yes. There's a difference between a boundary and an ultimatum. A boundary is for your protection. An ultimatum is manipulation to create motivation. Right. So an ultimatum is you need to do this or else this is going to happen. And it's meant to motivate the other person and try to get them to go do something. A boundary is different in the sense that a boundary isn't about changing their behavior. It's setting an expectation of, if this continues, I can't continue to live this way.
Right.
if this behavior continues, I am going to do blank.
Yeah.
For my own good.
Yeah.
For my own protection. Because, when I read through this, a lot of these we have to edit down because they're really long.
Sure.
There's some other information in here as far as, just some stuff that, since he's not working, he does a lot of the cooking.
Right.
Which she appreciates and she values, but then states that he also spends a great amount of time playing video games.
Exactly.
So he'll go and cook and then go back to the video game.
Exactly.
And then cook dinner, and then go back to the video game.
And I have a real beef with this, Nick. Like on a personal level, and you know how I feel about this. We've talked about this. I get frustrated anytime somebody thinks they get to have early retirement because the other person's working. Like that, I just don't think that's the world we live in anymore. It's a dual income world, and I'm with the wife on this. She's like, hey, I know what the economy's like out there. This is not sustainable. This guy's living the dream, and I'm working really hard, and I get it, but one piece of advice I will give her that kind of pushes back on something she said. She said, well, I don't want to do marriage counseling, or I'm at least reluctant because it costs money. Let me tell you something, sister. Insurance doesn't cover divorce. Insurance doesn't cover divorce. And if you divorce your husband or give him an ultimatum and you lose that fight and he does leave for whatever reason, you're going to be making alimony payments because you're the one who has all that sweet, sweet money and he doesn't. So insurance doesn't cover that outcome. Insurance does cover marriage counseling. So you begin going to counseling. And if he says he's not going to go, you say, fine, I'm going to go. It's every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. I'm going to be there. When you're ready to be a husband and when you're ready to own this, you know where I'll be. Start that process now. And what will happen is the therapist can actually reach out to him by phone and say, hey, are you willing to just give me some information just so I get the other side of the story? And usually people want to get in there just to tell their side of the story. But you know what? Go anyway. That's my advice.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Yeah, get involved right now. Seek out help, even if he doesn't want to.
Yes.
Do it for you.
Yeah, that's what insurance covers.
Yeah. And I think, eventually these boundaries are going to have to be set. And having that guidance from a therapist on how to set those boundaries that could be very valuable. So I just want to add one more thing. Jim is the type of guy who claps when the plane lands.
I do. Mostly it's tears of joy. I'm so scared. The type of guy. How did you come up with these Jim facts? These are great.
Yeah,
you just sat around and
I just observing you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. All the times we've gone to Lululemon and Nickelback concerts.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Jim uses his turn signal in the drive-thru.
So, okay. I do. I actually do. Because there's a Starbucks that I go to every morning and the line is like all the way out in like the parking lot. And I've like lined up to get in there and then somebody else has darted in front of me and like gone first. And that outrages me. Like I will lay on my horn if you do that and I will ruin you. Like I'll make sure they can't hear the drink order, because I'll be so angry. And so I actually turn on my turn signal now to like let people know, like, I'm getting in here. You are getting in line. And Nick, you should be thankful for that because a lot of times I bring you coffee. So I do it for you, baby. That's why I will not let anybody take your coffee. I try to make sure I get there on time with Nick's favorite coffee. Nick, fun fact, Nick's favorite drink from Starbucks is the Very Berry Hibiscus tea refresher. With a little twist of lime. And he demands that they put a smiley face on the cup.
Not insulting at all.
It's actually my favorite drink. My wife's listening to this going, what? You ordered that yesterday.
Jim pours the milk before the cereal.
That's a crime against God. Nobody does that. You remember when you were a kid and did you used to do that as a kid?
No.
Or did you ever do that and then realize what a bad idea that was and then learn the hard way that you should do cereal first?
No.
Really?
No, that thought never crossed my mind.
Did you ever as a kid eat all the cereal and you still had milk left over and you went and got cereal and like refilled the bowl with some more cereal to use up the rest of the milk?
Yeah.
Okay, so like that experience I think teaches you the hydrodynamics,
right.
like how milk works. So interesting facts. Nick, did you have any more?
No, that's pretty much it.
Wow.
I think I got out everything I wanted to say.
Well, I want you to know that your declaration of war was received loud and clear. Loud and clear. And there will be some Nick facts that are coming up in the following episode. And you will rue the day that you have the flu or anything that stops you from being in this room. I'm so glad I came here today. I had no idea that you intended to do all of that.
It was going to be so much fun.
All of that libel, Nick. These are legally actionable things. So I will see you in court.
Sounds fair.
All right, that's all the time we've got for this week's session. Thank you to those who have contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Help us reach others by sharing this episode. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/podtherapy or on Twitter at podtherapyguys.
Do you want to add your own advice to today's questions or give us your thoughts? Post your thoughts at podtherapy.net and join the conversation. I'm Nick Tanchman.
I'm Art Garfunkel.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.